We just heard about the vital importance of education in helping to bridge the enormous economic gaps. And so our next conversation seems very relevant. We're going to take a look at a new model for high school. It's a case study about Alamo Academies. That's a public-private partnership between Alamo colleges, those are community colleges, industry, and public schools. And the program is designed to transform skills training in San Antonio. Alamo Academies offers high school juniors and seniors community college credit and paid internships tuition free. And the hope is that these kids get the skills that they need to enter the workforce and hold meaningful jobs. Here to talk to us about the program is Troy Kettell. He's chief coordinator of Alamo Academies. One of his students was going to be with us here today too, but unfortunately had a family emergency. So please welcome Troy here along with Atlantic editor Emily DeRuy.
Do you have a little, the little sheet that has it's in there. All right, I'll go say hi.
All right, so thank you, Troy, for joining us.
Thank you, Emily, for having me.
To get started, I was wondering if you could give us kind of an overview of Alamo Academies and what you do.
You did a great job with the overview. Basically what we are, we're an industry-driven program where we go out and target high school junior and seniors to bring them into the academies, train them in a pipeline for 2 years, so when they get to the end of the pipeline, they've got some options. The students do earn somewhere between 31 and 34 hours of college credit. They're earning industry-recognized certificates, and like she brought up, they do a paid internship, so they're getting some of that work experience at that time. So that student, think about it, as a high school senior graduating, has got 31 and 34 hours of college credit, level 1 certificate from Alamo colleges, and industry certificates. So again, they've got some basic skill sets, but I think one of the biggest things they've got those soft skills, essential skills to be a productive member of the workforce.
So we hear a lot about this skills gap and this educational attainment gap where students of color don't have access necessarily to the same opportunities as white students, and we just heard about it in the last panel, about people coming into town with skills and then people who are born and raised in the area not having access. So do you think that is that an issue in San Antonio and for businesses, and how does Alamo Academies kind of help bridge that gap?
It is. It's a huge issue. You look at the academies, we're graduating about 63% of our students that come through the door. So we do have an attrition rate. Now the attrition rate for these students is generally at the beginning of the fall semester, the first year. And the reason why that attrition rate I think is high for that student at that point in time is we're taking that student off the high school campus, bringing them to the college campus. Our classes are starting at 7:30 in the morning and running until 10. High school normally starts at 8:45, so that student's already getting up a lot earlier than they normally would and coming to our campus. So it's kind of taking them out of their comfort zone at that point in time. But out of the 63% of the students that we're graduating, 75% are from minorities, 86% are from economic disadvantages homes. So yes, I think the academies has found that niche, and we're succeeding to make those students successful in San Antonio. Not only for the student to be successful, but for businesses in San Antonio to be successful.
So unfortunately, Annette couldn't join us today, but I was wondering if you could give us kind of an overview of her background and maybe how her trajectory shifted after joining Alamo Academies, where she was sort of headed before and where she is now.
Yeah, and that is one of our success stories. I wish she would be here because I know she can tell the story a lot better than I can tell the story. Annette came out of McCullum High School on the south side of San Antonio. Basically joined the academies on a whim. Just decided, let me go try to do this. She came into our aerospace program. Came in the aerospace, she did her first year. She actually did her internship with the 403rd Airlift Wing out at Lackland Air Force Base, the old Kelly Air Force Base. She came back her senior year, completed the program. At that point in time, Lockheed Martin was looking to hire aircraft jet engine mechanics. They came and interviewed Annette. Annette was hired on to Lockheed. Now, one good advantage of the Academy program is our industry partners. An industry drives what we do. They're the ones pulling those students through that pipeline. Lockheed Martin has a program where they have tuition reimbursement. So Annette started as a jet engine mechanic working on the floor, turning wrenches. I took advantage of the tuition reimbursement programs they had. She finished her 2 associate degrees through Alamo colleges, one in power plant, one in structures. She also got her A&P license, which is required by the FAA to work on aircraft. She did this, again, she's still working at Lockheed Martin as a jet engine mechanic. Lockheed Martin has some career broadening opportunities, and I think that's one thing that the industries really see about the Academy program, the Academy students are, you can grow your own. So you have vacancies all across the board. She took on this career broadening and went into contracting as a contract negotiator at Lockheed Martin. Again, taking advantage of the financial reimbursement program, finished her undergraduate degree at Emory-Riddle. So if you think about it, at that point in time for Annette, she was working at Lockheed Martin, one of the largest DoD contractors in the world. She has 2 associate degrees. She's got an airframe and power plant license. She has her undergraduate degree, never paid a dime in tuition. Never paid a dime in tuition. And she's, at this time, she's probably 24, 25 years old as a contract negotiator for Lockheed Martin. And today, she's transitioned up here to Austin. She's working in manufacturing as a contract negotiator for a healthcare company here in Austin. So again, kind of one of the examples of a student that come through the pipeline and what opportunities that are out there. So there's several exit points in the program. I think that's important for students too. Our students, we got students that are still turning wrenches, want to be jet engine mechanics. We got students working in contract negotiations, working in finance, working in quality. It really is up to that student at that point in time, but they can exit anywhere in this program. And I heard the question they're talking about stackable credentials. When you think about it, that's exactly what we're doing. We've got the level 1 certificate, you've got the associate applied science, you've got the undergraduate degrees and even graduate degrees for these students.
Right. So this takes quite a bit of time and quite a bit of, it takes an investment from companies, from the business sector. How do you convince companies like Lockheed that this is worth the investment? And
again, that's where I think, when the academies first stood up, Lockheed and Boeing were the first companies came on board. So the best way for me to tell other industries how important this program is to have representatives from Lockheed, representatives from Boeing to come in there and talk about, here's what our workforce looks like today. Lockheed at the point was exclusively hiring their jet engine mechanics from the Alamo Academies. And the advantages for the industries at that point in time, the retention rate on these employees is huge. About 90% of those employees stay at those companies. Toyota came on board a few years ago with our manufacturing program. And talking with Toyota, it was costing them about $30,000 a year to go recruit someone from out of state, bring them down here, train them, and on average, they were only staying at Toyota somewhere between 2 to 5 years. And again, that's a $30,000 investment, whereas creating this pipeline, growing your own, those employees will stay at those companies, and it's the Toyotas, it's the Lockheeds, it's the Boeings, the whole CAT now that sees that this is, they're invested in their future. Granted, this is about a 5-year plan down the road, but they see the importance of it.
Got it. And this model, this kind of dual enrollment model, we've seen some increase in that nationwide in the past few years, but is this something that you think is scalable? And if so, how do you maintain quality?
It is scalable, and I think quality is a huge important. And the reason I think quality is a huge importance is that we brought it to the college level. Growing up, and when I came through high school a few years ago, we had the VOTEC. And every VOTEC course you would take in a high school was different from high school to high school to high school. And a lot of times it got watered down. You didn't know what the skill set of those students were coming out of those VOTEC programs. But with being at the college level, again, I think it raises the quality, and industries understand that. Now, as far as scalability, I think you can scale this anywhere. The thing that you need, though, is there needs to be an industry component, an industry cluster that's driving what is needed out there. So they identify what the need is. At that point in time, then you go find a community college or a technical training facility that can meet that need, do that curriculum. And that way I think it is scalable. For the academies, obviously we started out in aerospace. We used to bring 60, 80 kids into the program, in the aerospace program. Today we're bringing in 24. And the reason we're bringing in 24 is demand has come down. However, demand's come down in the aerospace industry. Demand has risen in the IT industry. It's risen in manufacturing. 2 years ago, we started the Heavy Equipment Academy. So again, it's a pull system. Industry drives it. So when I'm out recruiting a student to put in this training pipeline, I'm putting that student, recruiting that student into a position, into a career pathway where there are jobs. And I think that's what makes the academies successful. And I think that's why you could scale it nationwide.
Interesting. So there's been some concern from some people about businesses driving curriculum and whether that's a problem. Would love your thoughts on that and whether there are challenges there.
My honest thoughts on that.
Your honest thoughts on that.
I think industry needs to drive the curriculum. I mean, the way I look at it is if industry's not at the table driving the curriculum and we leave it in the higher education and students are coming through and they're getting the skill sets that are needed in industry's going to back away and they'll create their own training programs. So again, it's all give and take. There's no way that, it's a collaboration, and it's a lot of give and take. And I know, industry moves at a rapid pace. Higher education moves at a little bit slower pace, and change is sometimes hard for higher education. But again, I think we need to see higher education looking at some of this and changing the way they think and how they develop courses and how they get accredited for these courses. Because again, I don't think if higher education doesn't change, you're going to see these industries developing their own programs and credentialing it through industry type programs.
So we'll toss this to a Q&A in a minute, but my last question for now is sort of, does every student need a 4-year degree? Is a 2-year degree acceptable in some of these industries? But should we be concerned about students of color, students who come from less economically advantaged backgrounds being funneled toward 2-year degrees, while some of these white students mostly, honestly, have access to a 4-year degree right out of high school?
I think, where education system is set up today is everybody's being pushed towards that 4-year degree. And the latest census data is showing that less than 25% of Americans have an undergraduate degree. So the question I always have is what we're doing for that other 75% of the population. We've got students out there that are making excellent wages in high-tech, high-skilled jobs that don't have a 4-year degree, but they've got a 2-year degree. And some of those students now have risen to supervisory positions that are supervising co-workers who have 4-year degrees that have taken those jobs so they can pay off their student loans. So, and again, and that's the hardest thing for me when I'm going out and talking to parents, because every parent's going to look me in the face and say, my son or daughter needs to have a 4-year degree. And that's fine, because they can still do that, especially through these career broadening opportunities that are out there. But again, do they, we can show that students can be successful. They do need some post-secondary education. They do need that. But maybe it isn't quite at the 4-year degree level. Maybe it can stop at the 2-year degree level.
Got it. Do we have any questions from the audience? Anybody? Nope. Okay. I can ask another one if anybody wants to. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, right in the front there.
I'm Jim Nelson with American Youth Works as well, Texas Conservation Corps. I am a great proponent of dual enrollment programs and have supported them throughout. I've read some literature recently that suggests that maybe it's going too far too fast in some instances, that maybe that's connected with taking students away from the high school campus experience. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know if you've heard anything or if you have a sensitivity to that in your program about that notion that it's some ways going too fast, too far.
I think we do see that. I think you're starting to see a lot of early college high schools stand up, and I do believe that probably is going a little quick. I think there's some students that probably aren't prepared for that. I think the academies, though, as far as how we run it, again, we're targeting juniors and seniors. And again, what's driving us is industry. If there's not that need there, we're not going to recruit that student. So I think it's a safe balance that on the trajectory that we're going is going to meet that industry need.
Sure, sir.
My name's Brian Gregg. I'm with Capital Academy. Okay. My name is Brian Gregg. I'm with Capital Academies. Question for you about San Antonio. To what degree does the city of San Antonio financially participate in Alamo Academies?
The city itself, as far as the academy staff, we're a nonprofit 501c3. The academy staff, we are funded through City San Antonio through an interlocal agreement. It's about $500,000 a year for that. Now, how the academies work is Alamo colleges, they waive the tuition and fees. They do get some contact reimbursement back from the state for that. The high schools, they pay for the transportation, the textbooks for the students to participate in our program, and then industry provides that paid internship. So when you look at the financials for Alamo colleges, it's about 30% across the board that everybody has input in there. And I think that's important too, because again, you need to have input into it.
I think I saw a hand in the back earlier. Does anybody? Sure.
Good morning. I'm Bill Loudon from Austin Community College. And you mentioned developing curriculum for specific industries or companies in your part of your program. How do you do that if those courses don't already exist in WECM or the ACGM manuals for the workforce education? How do you create courses that don't already exist approved by the state of Texas?
And again, that's where we need to work with the community college. We have an industry advisory board that will sit down with representatives from the college look at the current curriculum. If the curriculum's not there, developing that and going through that process. So, and that's kind of what I was saying. In order to get those things developed, that takes a lot of time. You know, and that is kind of one of the constraints that you can kind of see, that is the amount of time it takes is not meeting what industries need. So hopefully what we can do is work with higher education, with the accrediting boards, and maybe change that mindset a little bit. And how can we create these courses in a more timely manner?
And unfortunately, we're out of time, so I'll hand this back to Margaret and we'll head off. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.